Curiosity. What are you so curious about? Everything, Mr. Curiosity.
Alrighty, folks, Snedeker here. Mr. Curiosity is what the podcast is, and thanks for joining us. And by us, I mean Valerie Smock and me. Valerie!
Hello.
First of all, the word smock. I bet you didn't like to take that when you got married, or do you? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, that's actually my maiden name.
Oh, so you are a smock. See, well, before you even go on, stop right here. Because everyone's probably like, oh, these guys are friends. They're colleagues. They see each other all the time. When do we see each other?
Very rarely. Unless
rarely.
I'm coming into work for like a noon show for Kurt, we might pass each other.
I know. So this is what I think people need to know. You started here what year?
Oh, geez. I think it'll be
17? 18?
I want to say 5 years in April, May. I think it'll be 5 years.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say 2017-ish. And how, if you add up all the hours we've spent together, it wouldn't even be one probably. So we work at the same building, but I never see you. The things I know about you are, and I could be way off. You have a military background. You're from the Midwest. You have 2 kids and a husband. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
That's all I know of her, folks. I work the morning shift, and when I'm not working the morning shift, she is, and I'm home, and back and forth we go. So we never really interact or anything, and that's just the nature of a lot of people in the media and businesses and their workplace. So let's get down and dirty and find out about you, Valerie Smock, which is your maiden name.
Yes, that's my maiden name.
All right. Yeah, so where's the birth occur? Where do you pop out into planet Earth?
So I was actually born in Pennsylvania, but I've lived in Ohio most of my life. So
see, now it's already getting confusing. Where were you born in Pennsylvania?
So where my family lived when I was born, the closest hospital just happened to be right across the state line. So I'm originating from Andover, Ohio. Okay. So it's, I'd say about like an hour east of Cleveland, a little more than that.
Right.
Because when you're in Ohio, a lot of people just say things by time as opposed to distance. It's like where I mainly grew up, I was like 45 minutes east of Cleveland. So
well, how many minutes west of Pennsylvania?
Oh, geez. I'd say about, depending on which direction you're going, I'd say anywhere from like 40 to 45 minutes.
Okay, so there you are. Eastern Ohio, on the border of Western PA. Your parents are doing what? Why are you in transit? What are they all about?
So we were in Andover, Ohio. My parents' closest hospital happened to be in Pennsylvania, Greenville, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So that's where they had me. And of course, when they had me, my mom ended up at the hospital, I'd say like 3 or 4 different times because it was like false alarm. I was like, I'm coming. No, I'm not. So
the drama unfolds of the making of Valerie.
Yeah. So I didn't want to come out. And then finally the last time they're like, no, this is happening. We are making this happen. We are having this child. We're not doing this again. Because my dad at that point was already working, I think in Chardon. I'm from Chardon, Ohio. That's where I primarily grew up.
And what's the dad doing?
So he's a finance director.
Okay. Big finance. What does that even mean? What a finance director.
He's in
charge of someone's mutual funds?
He was the finance director for the city of Chardon.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So he worked for the city. And at the time, it was just a village. We were just a village. We were really tiny. But we eventually grew to the size of a city. And he was working, actually, I think he was working for a different company at that point. But he was working in a different location and had to keep driving home all of these times when I was trying to be born. And he was finally last time, no, this is happening. We're not going to keep doing this.
So your mom's about to have you, and he's probably rolling his eyes saying, another false alarm. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Let's not cry wolf, honey.
Yeah, he was a wee bit frustrated at that point, but we finally arrived and it was all good. But I stayed in Andover through preschool.
Well, wait a minute now. The rudest question I can ask you, do we want to mention the year? And if you say no, I simply ring the bell and move on.
1980.
Oh, all right. She's okay with her age. There you go.
Yeah.
Born in a nice, even starting decade. I love it.
Yes, 1980. So that's why it's like, it's always easy to remember how old I am because it was like, okay, it was
Quick math.
I can do. So, well, because I did post on my Facebook page when I turned 40.
Okay.
So I did do that. So yeah, I actually just had a birthday. So I just turned 42.
Happy birthday. It seems now like most women, my mom's generation, they would never say their age. It was rude to ask a woman. That's all gone now. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone just get real. Keep it honest and pure.
Well, and a lot of people think I'm younger. I guess I age well.
Oh, you have such smooth, sexy skin. That's why.
Oh, well, thank you. You know, I have a regimen that I do. So yeah. You know.
So do you have any brothers, sisters, or you're the first and last? What happened there?
I am the last.
I think we just lost your video. Keep it going, though. There you are. Okay.
Are you still there?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, somebody's trying to call me.
And they're still trying to call you. You know what? You tell them you're doing Mr.
It's my,
Curiosity. Tell them to get out of your life.
Get it out of my life. Get it out.
I'm just kidding. No, so you're the last.
It's the pediatrician that was trying to call me.
Is it important? Do you want to bring this into the
podcast?
No,
we
can hear the whole call.
I sent them to voicemail. So, okay. So I do have a sister. She is older than me.
Okay.
We're 3 years apart in age and 4 years apart in school.
Interesting.
So her name's Lynette. And she still lives back in Ohio by my family.
Just the two of you?
Say that again?
Just the two of you, two siblings?
Yeah, just the two of us.
And there you are. You're being born on the Pennsylvania-Ohio border. You're going through, preschool, elementary school. Are we in middle school yet? Are you still there? What's happening?
So in Andover, where things had kind of started, I was just there through preschool, and then we moved to Chardon, and I was there through high school, through college.
And where is Chardon?
It's about 45 minutes east of Cleveland.
Oh, okay, so we're still in the Midwest. We're still in the industrial guts of our nation.
Yes.
And were you? Let's picture you in high school now. Are you prom queen? Are you nerdy science geek? Are you field hockey player? Are you a long distance runner? What is Valerie in high school?
I hated running, so I was definitely not a runner. Track was not my thing. That was a hard pass. I was a majorette. So
there you go. You have something you can twirl around there for us, or no? How about that cactus behind you? You can get that cactus behind you. You can just
8-pound weight. I can I work out like right behind me when I'm doing my workouts. And that's what I was trying to think, like, what is my background going to look like? Because they have a big dollhouse behind me.
It looks good. It looks like an office/kids sometimes play their room.
Yeah, that's basically what it is.
We all have those.
Yeah.
So you're a twirlette?
So I was a majorette. I twirled for, I started in like 3rd grade, I think. So I twirled all the way through the middle of college.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Not too many people start twirling at that young age and continue to twirl in college.
Yeah.
So you were determined. You were passionate about the twirling.
I was. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I was.
And this is coming from a guy who knows nothing about twirling except twirling.
Oh, yeah. It was. I always explained it to people, like, we were the ones in the bathing suits twirling the long sticks in the middle of the football game.
Any fire?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Fire twirls?
Yeah, I would twirl fire baton and I would twirl fire knives.
Now, you should show us pictures of twirling fire knives in your bathing suit. This is what the viewers need to see.
I know. Well, it's funny, one of the days that I was working for you, it had come up and I was talking to Mindy about it, and she's like, "Oh, don't tell us this, because now we're gonna,
Yeah. We're gonna have to dig for those pictures."
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. So even in college, you kept doing this.
I did, yeah. And then once I really started to get into my major for, journalism and whatnot, that's when I kind of started to back off, because I began to work for the TV station at the university. So,
Well, see, now we got to back up a little bit. So when you're a high school senior and you're deciding, what am I going to do with my life? You already had journalistic ambitions?
it was actually my second choice. My first choice was to go into psychology.
Really? See, now when I think about the entire weather team, don't be offended, from Kurt to Allie to you to me to John Hickey, the only two true since childhood weather nerds are Hickey and me, I think, because a lot of everyone else went into journalism in our department first. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Psychology was the first plan, and journalism was really a short second, real close second. And I decided not to do psychology because I figured I could use more help than give it. So I was like, no, we're just not going to do that. We're going to go with the journalism side of things.
So instead of dishing it out, you wanted to receive the psychology.
I think in this business, everybody has to have therapy at some point. And so I wanted to work in Hollywood, but figured Hollywood wasn't calling anytime soon. So I was like, well, let's just go the TV news route. And I wanted to honestly be a news anchor, but I knew you kind of had to be a reporter to get to that point. So I ended up going the broadcast journalism route first.
Interesting. So what college is this? Hey, our boss is here. She wants to join us in the podcast. We're doing a live Mr. Curiosity recording.
Well, I love this, but your skeleton is here.
Okay. Could I pick it up later then, I guess?
Yeah, we just wanted to let you know that your special delivery has arrived.
Oh, that's excellent. The skeleton has arrived. Thank you. Valerie is here. All right. See you later. So this is good. See, this is great breaking news. The skeleton for the backyard has arrived, the special delivery. And we're talking about your career beginning in journalism. So what college is this? Did I miss that while I was discussing things? Sorry.
Kent State.
Whoa, big shot.
Yeah.
So were there still reverberations of the tough years from the 60s around you when you went there? And I mean, this is 90s, but does it still have that thought process for a lot of folks?
It does. And what made it even kind of, side note here, what made it even more interesting was I joined the Ohio Army National Guard.
Oh, I know. So this is
going to Kent.
This is unbelievable. So yeah, so just think, 25, 30 years before that, this is world news. This is global history being made. And now you're joining something at the same place 2.5 decades later.
Yeah, it was. And somebody had actually did a story on me while I was at Kent. One of the student stories they did on me joining, and I was military police. So that just,
oh my gosh, it's even
was
more directly infused into the history. So what made you do that? I mean, was it just, hey, I can get my college paid for, or did you have this military passion?
That was an added bonus. My grandpa was in the military, and so I kind of wanted to follow him. And I had actually, on a little side note, I was dating a Marine at the time. He had and this was like right when I was going into my senior year of high school. And I was dating a guy who had just left for Marine boot camp. And I said, whenever any of the military comes to our school, because you'd always have the recruiters come during lunch in the cafeteria. Right. They'd always set up shop and just say, hey, come, join the Army, come join the Coast Guard, whatever. I said, well, when any of them come, I'm just going to go talk to them just because I'm dating Marines. So I'm going to go talk to them. So I started talking with the active Army. We set up an interview, and anytime they would call my mom to confirm, she's like, nope, not doing it. And she'd cancel it.
Whoa.
So I was like, okay. So once I got into college, this was my sophomore year of college.
But why? Was there a contentious relationship with your mom, or she just didn't want her daughter to get hurt? Or was this you being a rebel? What's happening here?
She just didn't want me to join the Army. She wanted me to go to college, and the Army was just not in her plans at all.
So she's trying to derail your efforts.
Yes, she was. So once I got into my sophomore year of college, the ROTC had one of those really big climbing walls out. And I knew one of the guys who was running the climbing wall. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll do it. Sure. By the time I got done with the climbing wall, I had a 4.5-hour meeting with the recruiter the next day. And this was with the active Army. And I was like, you know what? I don't know if I could do active Army. Maybe we should try something different. And the guy who I knew was like, well, I do, National Guard. So, let's try that route. And I was like, okay, let's try that.
No, but
so I had my dad
because the wall was too intense, or what's the wall vibe there? I mean, it was too.
Oh, no, the wall was fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the wall was perfectly fine. It was just, I wasn't sure I was ready to go full blown.
Oh, okay. That should.
Active Army.
All right.
So I ended up having a meeting with the National Guard, and I had my dad come down so he could be a part of it. And he's like, I don't think we can stop you at this point. You're an adult, and if you want to do this, then you can be the one to tell your mom.
I was going to say, I say this to my kids about my wife. Your mom doesn't this. Your mom doesn't that. Your mom doesn't want you this. So your dad's probably using all these lines. Your mom doesn't want you to do this. Your mom doesn't want you to do that, right? Classic dad stuff there.
Oh, yeah. So we told my mom, and she's like, okay. And I wanted to go into the journalism side of things, but you need certain points on what's called the ASVAB test. And that's what you take to get into the military.
Right.
And I was 11 points shy on the writing portion of it. And they would only waive you so many points.
Why is that? I don't believe that. What are you saying here?
I just didn't score high enough.
You're a skilled writer. You're a skilled communicator. I can't believe it.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I didn't score high enough. And so we started talking about other options. And the recruiter was like, well, what about military police? And I said, okay, well, what do they do? And he's like, it's really fun. You'll love it. I said, okay, but what do they do? And he's like, it's a bunch of college kids. You'll get along really well. It's, it's great. I think you'll enjoy it.
It's not the 60s. Don't worry about that.
And I'm like, okay, so let's go for it. Didn't tell me they were the most highly deployable unit.
Well, I didn't know that either. Yeah, but
Yeah,
at that point, when you're making this decision, were you aware of the Kent history, military police? Or were you just an innocent, a lot of people in the 90s, when you're 18, 19 years old, you don't even know that history.
I knew a little bit of it just because Kent was very, very much into,
sure,
their anniversary for,
gotcha.
May 4th.
So aware. It's not like you're being tricked in. You're innocently stumbling in, which is fine.
Right.
There you go. Make life decisions. Go forward.
Right. So I ended up doing that. I did get deployed to Kuwait.
Really?
But I hurt my wrist, so I was only there for about a month and a half. So the day that I left was the day that they convoyed north to Baghdad. So I missed it by the day.
And this is what, 89, 90, I'm sorry, it was 90, 2000, where are we at now? I'm trying to.
This was in 2000. I signed up for the Army the April before 9/11 happened.
Whoa.
So it was like great. And I thought once 9/11 happened, because I signed up in April and I wasn't supposed to go to basic training until the following year. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, are they going to speed up the process? What's going to happen?
So now you're 20 years old. 9/11 happens, 2021. Did you feel this surge? Like I'm into this vibe. I'm into now. I mean, this time of the year, when we were at this state, I remember everyone had America, flags taped to their windows, flags waving proudly. This was Go America, early 2000s, right after 9/11. So did you feel that vibe being a part of the military?
I did. Yeah, I was scared out of my mind, but I was so happy and I just felt so proud for being a part of that.
Okay.
And when we did deploy, I had wrist issues before we went. So I had to go through a medical board to even get to go overseas. And people were just like, oh, why do you even want to do this? And I said, because that's what I signed up for. You know, this is what I'm meant to do. And so I want to be there fighting alongside of everybody else.
Whoa. So Valerie with the valor. Huh. Now, what about, so when you say wrist issues, what's happening?
I ended up tearing cartilage in my wrist, and it got worse while I was over there. So unfortunately, I did get sent home.
So they're thinking this
early.
this soldier cannot be holding weapons. This soldier cannot be defending, right, with the damaged wrist, correct?
Right.
So you're sent home. You're 21 years old now, maybe 22?
Yeah, that was in 2002, 2003.
Yeah, 22, 23. But to this point, because we have to get you to meteorology here at WNEP, you're not an atmospheric science student.
Right.
You're military, you're journalism, you're college educated, but you're not studying the atmosphere. You're not interested in science. Maybe you are, but it's somehow on the back burner, correct?
Yeah, it wasn't even something on my radar.
If you saw when you were 23 and someone said in 20 years you're going to be a morning meteorologist at WNEP, would you be like, what? Huh?
Yeah, totally. Because I was anticipating on being an anchor. So I had to put a pause on college while I was sent overseas. And I came back, and I didn't graduate until 2005. So I was 25 when I graduated.
Whoa. And you get this degree in journalism.
Yes, with a degree in broadcast journalism.
Then what?
But while I was doing my internship at WKYC in Cleveland, I didn't want to just be with, reporters or just sit at the assignment desk. I wanted to work with all the other different entities. So that meant being in the sports department, working with the producers. And so finally I said, toward the end of my internship, I said, you know what, can I go work in the weather department? And they said, oh yeah, sure. So I went over there and I spent a good week or two with them, and they were allowing me to make graphics and just help do a bunch of different stuff. So when I put that on my resume, I put that I'd worked with all these different departments. And so the first job I applied for in Great Falls, Montana, was for an anchor job. They had just started a weekend newscast, and I applied for the anchor job. And they were like, oh, you do weather? And I'm like, not really. I mean, I worked in the weather department, but not really. They're like, that's okay. It's the easiest job. We can teach you.
I'm insulted by that. You see?
Yeah. So they put me on as their meteorologist, and I took to it like a duck to water. And I said, well, I'm going to go back to school for this. So I ended up going back to school for it. And
so did you do the University of Mississippi deal?
I did. Yeah, at Mississippi State.
So this is interesting. So when you were doing that, they just threw you in the water. Did you feel comfortable with that? Or, who was preparing the data analysis? Who was making the forecast? Were you more a presenter than a developer of meteorological phenomenon?
A lot of it, I would just try to look at maybe what the meteorologist had before me. I would use a lot of the National Weather Service.
So you're kind of winging it, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was kind of winging it. I really had no idea what I was doing. But
oh,
they
that's
just kind of
interesting.
into it, and I was like, okay, we'll figure it out.
So then you really bit into this, and you enjoyed the science of the atmosphere and the study of it. That's interesting. So how long did you come back with your degree? How long then? That took probably another 2 years, right?
Yeah, that was 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, and then what? Do you say I want to stay at this station, or I'm going to conquer the world? I'm going to New York City. I'm going to Philadelphia. I'm going to LA. Or do you just say, what? Were you targeting a job? Were you with the man of your dreams at the time? Were you married? How does all that happen?
No, that's part of why I left Montana. I was in a really bad relationship, and
you're done twirling by then.
I was done twirling by then. Yes.
Bad relationship, done twirling.
I ended up moving back home because of this toxic relationship.
Okay.
And I'm living back with my parents, trying to find another job. And I ended up getting a phone call from Youngstown. And so that was my next move.
So you're like late 20s. You come back home. Your parents are probably like, oh my God. What's with this nutcase?
Yeah.
I kid.
I mean, they were glad to get me.
I kid. They're glad to help.
But yeah, they're like, why aren't you living at home? Like, you need
Oh
to
my
move out.
goodness, this is interesting. See, this is getting juicy now. This is getting juicy. So
Yeah. So I ended up moving to.
Please tell me that the
Youngstown, and I
guy that
worked
you were,
there.
the guy that you were dating who's toxic, please tell me that he ended up being an axe murderer. No, forget that. Just move on. She's thinking
There was a bad situation, but that's for another podcast.
All right, so you're back home. You're back home, and now you're working Youngstown. You said, or how far is that?
Working in Youngstown. And while I was in Youngstown, I had a break in service from the military, and that's when I ended up signing up for the Air Force Reserve.
Oh, this is complex. I can't even follow this. So wait, you're back home, and you're not working, and Youngstown is how far away?
Probably say 45 minutes southeast of where I'm from.
Okay,
Not too terribly
but
far.
when you were living at home and you came back, you had no job at all?
No.
But you were hoping to get a job in Youngstown, and you're like, I'm just going to join the Air Force Reserve.
So it wasn't until I started working in Youngstown that I ended up joining the Air Force. So I was actually covering, because I was the morning live reporter at first when I was in Youngstown. And one of the stories I covered was an open house at the air base out in Youngstown. And when I started talking to them and I told them my background, they're like, oh, okay. So they kind of then, pulled me in to have an interview and talk to me. And there was just like this whole epiphany of like, I need to be doing this.
Well, so are you like 26, 7, 8, 9 at this time? How old are you?
I was, in Youngstown, how old was I?
I'm just trying to get this.
Mid-20s. I think it was about mid-20s.
So Air Force Reserve, living at home and commuting to Youngstown as a reporter, 40-minute drive back and forth every day.
I did eventually find a place in Youngstown.
Okay, all right. I can see.
I did eventually find a place.
You're probably like this. Your parents, she's out. She's finally out.
She's gone, finally. So yeah, then I ended up having to go back to, I didn't have to go back to basic training because I had already done that. I just had to go back to the school my job that I was going to be doing, which happened to be public affairs. So for the Air Force. And so I just went back to school for that. And then when I came home, things kind of changed a little and I didn't like where things were going with my job. So I ended up getting a different job and I started working in Toledo.
While you're still in the Air Force Reserve?
Yes.
So the Youngstown job, you were hoping more for maybe meteorological applications and that didn't work out?
And I did get some. It just wasn't. I did weekend weather. I filled in for morning weather. I filled in for producing.
Oh.
I was a reporter and I would also anchor.
Ladies and gentlemen, this woman wears a million hats. Military, meteorological, producer, anchor, reporter.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Bad girlfriend.
And then I would always joke that sports was the only thing that I didn't do, but I did actually have to shoot video for boxing at one point.
Oh, so then when you get this other job, what's happening there? This is what you want?
I was just doing weekend weather in Toledo.
Right. Still, and you got your own place now.
Yeah, got my own place.
Living alone.
It was like a week of living there and somebody broke into my apartment. It was terrible.
So you're living alone there, no boyfriend now, no toxic relationship, just alone in an apartment doing all these fill-in jobs at a new TV station.
Yes.
Ooh,
so once I was there, the station was not something that was going to thrive. Let's put it that way.
It was no WNEP.
It was, yeah, exactly. It was no WNEP. So it was going downhill and picking up speed. And I said, you know what, I need to probably get out while I still can. And that's when I ended up going to work for AccuWeather.
So now she's at AccuWeather State College.
Mm-hmm.
Still in the Air Force Reserve.
Still in the Air Force Reserve.
What does that require? A weekend a month or something? What are you doing with
One
that?
weekend a month and then 2 weeks at some point during the year.
And are you dragging that luggage, or do you enjoy that? Are you thinking, why did I do this?
I liked it. There were some weeks that were hard because I'd be working, we called it the dirty dozen.
Yeah.
You'd be working Monday through Friday at your regular job, then have to do the weekend.
Yes,
And then
yeah.
come back and do another, 5 days. So it would get hard from time to time.
The dirty
that,
dozen, I like that. So 5, 5, and 2. There it is, right?
Yeah, so that was...
So AccuWeather, I need to know. Because it seems like a lot of the folks who go to AccuWeather, it's like the mass assembly line of weather forecasting. You're in a cubicle, you're making forecasts for various communities, cities. You never really see the people you're serving, and you're just more like a talking head and a robot next, correct?
They're different now since I've left.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was, you'd have a whole list of videos that we would be recording. You would have a whole list of radio stations that you would record forecasts for.
And you had never heard of these places. It would just be like, oh, do this radio station in Phoenix, and you did it, right?
Right.
But you're never there, and you're not like a part of the community. It's got to be odd.
Yeah, it's hard. And it was different because you'd be out and about and nobody would know who you are.
Right. There's no there's no communication with the public.
Right.
You're hundreds, thousands of miles away from the people you're serving.
I did have somebody a couple of times tell me they saw me at a gas station because the little gas station TVs, we would record some of those gas station forecasts. And so they'd see me pumping gas.
And it's not like in our business, we need the approval of our viewers to confirm what we're doing, but it's human nature. I don't care who you are. Everyone needs to be told they're doing a good job. Everyone needs to be reaffirmed. Everyone needs to hear feedback that's positive. So don't give me that, people out there who are cynical. Who cares if you don't see your viewers? You need to see them. You need them to talk to you. You need to be a part of it. You need to communicate. It's like a volleyball game. You can't just serve and never get it back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that had to be a stale experience for you.
It was hard. It was one of the jobs that I really enjoyed, but yeah, not having that feedback was difficult.
Yeah, yeah.
But while I was there, I did get to go to the National Association of Broadcasters, NAB, out in Las Vegas. And that was really cool to do that. And while I was at AccuWeather, I got to do the international version of it in Amsterdam.
Oh, that's good. So how long were you there?
About a week.
No, AccuWeather.
Oh, for AccuWeather?
Years?
Maybe about 3 years.
Whoa. Now you're getting into your 30-ish range in age, perhaps at the time, maybe into your 30s. And there's still no child. There's still no husband. And
no, I actually met my husband in State College.
You see how life takes us on this journey. So you take a job at AccuWeather. You're getting away from home. You're in the reserve. You're looking for this weather job. And now you meet your husband, which changes the whole direction of your life and countless generations to come, since now you had kids with this guy.
Yeah. And once I was done at AccuWeather, we ended up moving to, and he moved with me as opposed to me moving for him. So I got a phone call was actually an email from Pittsburgh, WPXI in Pittsburgh. And they were interested in me for their morning meteorologist position. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Are you serious?
So Pittsburgh, we're talking top market here, correct?
Yeah, top 20 market.
Whoa.
So I had talked to Chuck, my husband, and I said, what do you want to do? Is this something that you'd even be willing to move with me for? And he said, yeah. And so we picked up and we moved to Pittsburgh, and I ended up being there for a while.
So at State College, you were dating this guy, Chuck. He was doing what for a living? He's a what?
He's an engineer.
Engineer in State College. You meet him. Here's two people having a good time, loving life, living their jobs. But you find this new job. And what does he do? He just can't say, I'm going to pick up and relocate. Big shot engineer. He did it, though.
He did.
The things we do for you ladies. Come on. You see that? Love it.
So yeah, I ended up in
Was it blind?
Pittsburgh
What was
for.
Hawkeye Eagle like? All right, so there you are. He moves with you, and what was it like at a big station like Pittsburgh?
It was crazy. It was completely different. I mean, their morning show they're very serious.
All
It's a
right.
very serious station that I had worked for.
I hate it already.
Right. Well, and that's what was funny, because Chuck had actually told me about you before I had even,
What?
because Chuck is from the area. He's from Dallas.
Kidding. That's right. He's a Dallas guy. Okay. And what is he?
So he's like, oh my God, like Pittsburgh is so serious. You have to see this guy from back home. So he pulled up some YouTube videos of you, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, this would never be allowed at WPXI. Ever. It was like, this is
Know
crazy.
any of this? Are you going to tell me right in front of me now that Chuck is a fan?
He is.
Oh, I love it. I'm honored. All right. I like this guy already.
Yeah. So our station, I mean, it was a very serious newscast. I mean, you'd think it was more like 6 o'clock newscast, 11 o'clock newscast, where you don't have a whole lot of that. You don't have as fun as you would on a typical morning show.
No one wants to see robots and non-conversation and just stats and data. No, you want to interact. You want to show warmth and feelings and laugh.
Yeah. So it didn't jive well with me.
How long were you there?
Say what?
How long were you there?
I was there.
Years?
Yeah, I was there for like 3-4 years.
Whoa.
I find this station is the longest I've been at a TV station.
Currently now, or that one?
Currently now.
Oh, currently now. So I imagine Big Chuck making tons of money as an engineer. You're at a big Pittsburgh station. You guys are like in Candyland. Money's washing all over you. No kids, dual income, big time professional celebrity. Why didn't you just stay there and live out your life? What happened?
Well, so we got married and decided to have a family, and we had Grayson, and we were kind of sitting there. So my family in Pittsburgh, you know, I'm in Pittsburgh, they're in Chardon. They're like 2 hours away. Chuck's family's about 5 hours away. So we felt like we were kind of out on an island.
Dallas, PA, right?
And it was like, well, we don't really have any family close by to help.
So is Chuck saying, come back my way, come to Eastern Pennsylvania. You're going to love it. WNEP is a great station. I'm making good money. You'll find a job, part-time, whatever. It's all going to work out. And you bought into his plan.
Basically, we had a conversation of,
Basically.
well, yeah, we had this conversation of, all right, well, which family are we going to go live by?
Ooh.
So it was either my family or his. And once we kind of broke it all down, it was just made more sense to move here. And I was thinking, like, how in the world am I going to be able to find a job, you know, doing this? Because I had just wanted part-time so I could be at home with Grayson.
You have a new baby, you're in your mid-late 30s, and you're like, what am I going to do? And how did you,
Yeah.
So Chuck suggested you apply here, I imagine, because of, you know, his background. You were mentioning me. And what happened? Did you immediately hear back from us?
I did, yes. And even before I left Pittsburgh, I had the conversation with the current news director, Carl.
Okay.
The then news director, Carl. And he's just like, why in the world are you leaving Pittsburgh? Like, why?
Right.
Why do you want to come here?
Oh, so you were still there while you were applying. You were still meteorologist at.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's just like, why do you want to go backwards? I don't understand. And I said, well, we want to be closer to family, and I heard really great things about your station, and so I was hoping that there would be something available. And I said, I'm willing to freelance, do anything, you know, just to keep my foot in the door, because in this business, it's hard to get out and then get back in. So he said, yeah, okay, you know, we'll keep you in mind. And we stayed in contact. And once we moved, it was the beginning of the year. And it was tax day. I remember it was April 15th was my first day at the station. And it was right before then that Carl had said, oh, well, Noreen is leaving. And so there's a spot that's open if it's something that you're interested in. And I was like, yeah.
And how long were you living here before that mentioned? You were already here for a few months?
Yeah, I was only here for a few months. And
so
it
you were just
like,
you were just a mom at home. Not
Yeah.
just, but I'm saying that's what you were doing.
yeah.
Interesting. And so you were already watching WNEP, you saw Noreen Clark, and you watched WNEP, and you were familiar with the area. By the way, when you first moved to this area, I imagine you came to visit Chuck's family many times, right? So you were familiar
Yes.
with Eastern
Yeah,
PA?
and because I remember when John Hickey started,
Oh, which was
and
only
I was
a year
like,
before
oh,
that.
okay, he's new, and
Yeah.
so I had enjoyed watching the station, and I thought it was really cool that you guys had done weather from the backyard. I was like, it's like totally different. And we had talked, a couple of times where Chuck was like, oh, you could totally work for WNEP. And then everything just like came to fruition, and it was
Noreen retires, you're the new girl, here it all is coming into fruition.
It worked out so well that she was leaving as I was coming in. And so I spent the first weekend here with her so she could kind of show me the ropes on, hey, this is what I do. This is,
right.
This is the shift. And I remember coming in to work with you, I think at the very beginning before I was actually on camera.
Okay.
And I remember one of the conversations, you're like, I'm going to go get something to drink. What do you want? And I said something like Diet Pepsi. You're like, how do you drink that crap?
I did not say that because I drink Diet Pepsi all the time. That's a lie.
Oh, no, it was Pepsi. It might have been Pepsi. It might have been
Okay,
regular
maybe if
Pepsi.
it wasn't, yeah. Too much sugar. That could be real.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember something like that. And I was like, oh, God.
All right. Hey, at
I
least
just had no idea what to think.
Hey, at least I bought you a drink. Come on.
You did.
So with all your experiences from National Guard, Reserve, 2, 3 TV stations, AccuWeather, how does WNEP fare with all this? The people, the environment, the building, and don't patronize me. What do you think? It's a great place?
I think it's a great place. A lot of the stations that I worked at, you take the public, your viewers into play. People in Montana were really friendly.
Okay.
They were really nice, very laid back, and I was sad to leave just because it was such a really friendly place to work. I mean, you'd walk around and everybody's like, "Oh, hey, Valerie, how are you?" It's like, it's just like you're hanging out with a friend.
Okay.
And we had talked about AccuWeather. That was kind of, you had nobody, because nobody knew who you were.
Yeah.
Nobody cared to know who you were. But WNEP, everybody seems really friendly. You do get a couple of people that are not
Yeah. They're
not
everywhere.
so friendly.
Yeah, they're everywhere, right?
I've had a couple of negative emails from time to time.
In this
Everybody
business,
seems really friendly. The station seems really nice. I mean, you don't come in and have people just be like, well, I'm a news anchor. I'm important. Like, everybody just seems like, hey, what's up? Like,
oh, that's awesome to hear. Yeah, there's no egos here, I guess, or at least I think limited, very few. But what you mentioned with the emails is something that a lot of people in our job, people who are not in media broadcasting, do not understand this. You need rhino skin, especially for a woman, because all you do is get, especially with Facebook now, comments. Your hair looks like this. Why did you say that? Look at that shirt he has on. Look at that shirt she has on. Why did they do this? Why? Everything is criticism.
yes.
And it's
It's hard.
Don't realize it. And it gets to you after a while. I don't care who you are. You get an email and it's like, I hate you. I hate watching you. Blah, 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 blah. You think about that all day. I've gotten those. You've gotten those. Everybody gets them. You can't make everybody happy.
No, it's definitely difficult. And like I had said before, I'm in therapy. Everybody I think in the business probably at some point has sought therapy, just because it's a tough business to be in. And I've mentioned that to my therapist before, how difficult it is to deal with some of these comments because they do really get to you from time to time. I mean, I get more positive emails than anything, but it's like, oh, I love that dress you had on today. Oh, thank you.
Makes your day, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely makes your day. But you do have some that it's like, what did you do with your hair today? That looks terrible. Or, I do have somebody in particular, I think we chatted about it, that he didn't like that I was on instead of you when it was a big rain event. And it's like, okay, like, it's just, some people are just, you're not going to please them.
No,
they don't like you, and that's it.
You got to have rhino skin, like I said.
Yeah.
All right, so here you are now working every weekend with Andy Palumbo, and he's an interesting character, isn't he?
I love Andy. He's we get along really well. We do have we're able to talk to each other really easily on camera. He's usually, getting ready while I'm doing my hair in the makeup room. And so it's we have good conversations. So I think he's really fun to work with. So I'm going to be sad whenever he does eventually retire.
Well, and speaking of working with Andy, I'll say this because we're buddies, Andy and I, and he won't tell you this to your face, but he loves you. So he loves working with you. He loves your vibe. He loves how you present the weather. So you guys are a good team. He's got nothing but good things to say about you. Now, what's the future then? If someone said a magical fairy comes down over your bed tonight and says to you, Valerie, you're going to be doing this for the next 15 years of your life. Is that okay? Weekends, being a mom, or do you want more from life?
Well, I've always had in the back of my head, what's going to happen if all of a sudden somebody comes up to me and is like, yeah, you're done in TV.
No, they're not going to say that. It would be the opposite.
It's always a possibility that sometimes they just, they want to go in a different direction or, whatever. So I've always had that in the back of my mind. And I've always thought about going into something because I have the public affairs, public relations background with the military. I always thought about doing something like that for a company, doing, public affairs, public relations.
Oh, okay. But you like what you're doing and you can keep doing it.
Yeah.
Because after this interview that I'm doing with you, I'm going for a mountain bike ride. And what if I fall off my bike, twist my neck, and I'm dead in the woods? And then you get a call tomorrow and be like, will you be the no Joe Monday through Friday? Would you say no, thank you?
No, I would totally do it.
Ah, you want me to wreck on my bike and die? I can't believe it. There she is. She admitted it. She admitted it, everyone. She wants me out of here.
Well, and I'd even told Kurt, just now that the kids are both in school full time, because Grayson just started kindergarten and Emerson is now going to daycare full time. I have more time during the week. So that's what I had talked to you and said, hey, I have more availability to fill in now. And I know you were excited about that.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm a veteran here, so I get a lot of days off. And I always feel like whenever I want to take a day off, I'm like, the hardest part for me is now I got to go burden somebody else and ask them to fill in, and that's you. And that I hate doing that, but I'm glad you're willing to and you like it.
Yes. Well, and I told Kurt, hey, I have more availability, and I figured he'd be like, oh yeah, we'll throw you on a couple of noon shows. And he was actually willing to throw me on some of the, evening shows as well. So
perfect. You're the future.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And you really don't want me to fall off the bike.
But I told him, hey, now that the kids are in school full time, I have more availability during the week, and if anyone decides that they are going to leave, keep me in the back of your head.
So is there a part of you then, if I did fall on my bike and break my neck and die, that a little tinge in you would be like, yes?
No, I wouldn't be saying that.
No.
I would not be cheering about that. I'm not that cruel.
I'm just kidding with you. But hey, it was great talk. Did we leave anything out? I think we got the whole arc of your life. 2 kids, a husband.
Yeah, we didn't talk much about the kids, but.
All is good. I'm a guy. I don't like kid talk.
They're great. They keep me busy. They definitely keep me busy.
I hear you. All right. Well, Valerie, thanks for the time. And if anyone wants to send you compliments, just find her email in the WNEP registry. She wants compliments, not negativity. Or you can find her on Facebook and say she's beautiful and she's professional and she's lovely and she does a great job. That's what we feel.
I appreciate that.
I'll even say this. You're too good for Andy Palumbo.
Oh, jeez.
I'm just kidding, Andy. I know he's listening. All right, Valerie. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Signing off.
Curiosity. What are you so curious about? Everything, Mr. Curiosity.